But it's not that simple. The laws addressing groundwater pollution are fragmented between local, state, and federal agencies. So you could pick up the phone and call the Department of Agriculture, and they may tell you to call the Department of Ecology, and then they may tell you to call the city or the county. In other words, even the agencies themselves aren't sure who's supposed to do what. Right now, the health department says shellfish from the Duwamish River, like mussels, clams, oysters, they're highly toxic. They should not be consumed. But salmon is a different story. In fact, the Muckleshoot tribe harvests Chinook and other types of salmon from the river, and then they're sold to local grocery stores. Tonight, a different side of the immigration debate. A lot of people think it's pretty simple. People who come to the U.S. illegally should be deported. But what if you didn't have a choice about coming to America because you were brought here by your parents? He was known as Seattle's arts titan, nurturing our local arts community for more than 40 years. Perhaps more than anyone else, Peter Donnelly was the driving force behind a cultural coming of age, turning Seattle into a city that is now known nationally for its support of the arts.
Peter was a force of nature, a very strong personality.
When he arrived in Seattle in 1964, there were only 3 arts organizations in the city. As the managing and then producing director of the Seattle Repertory Theater, he advocated for and achieved the building of the Rep's Bagley Wright Theater at Seattle Center. Later, through work with the Building with the Arts program, Donnelly helped raise and deliver $57 million to 150 local arts facilities, including Benaroya Hall and the Intiman Theater. For 16 years, Donnelly went on to serve as the head of Arts Fund, invigorating a once floundering organization.
He doubled the size of Arts Fund. He created its endowment. He acquired its building. He built it into an institution that is an ongoing force in supporting the arts in this community.
Donnelly also served as president of the Fry Art Museum and served on the boards of the Seattle Art Museum, the Fifth Avenue Theater, and King FM Classical Music Radio. From the venues to the organizations to the artists and the patrons who enjoy Seattle's vibrancy, Peter Donnelly's impact on the cultural landscape of Seattle lingers at every level. Thanks to his dedicated years of service, the arts in Seattle, like the city itself, have grown up. Whimsical, amusing, innovative. These are the common adjectives critics use to describe the works of Alexander Calder.
He was a big, burly man with a kind of a wide smile and big hands, and he had this sort of feeling of a kind of cantankerous grandfather.
Art historians say he was one of the most famous and influential sculptors of our time. He devoted himself to grand-scale outdoor works. If you look down Eagle Street in Seattle, you will find his eagle in the Olympic Sculpture Park.
And it's just glorious the way the Calder seems to grow out of the ground. And just sitting and looking at it, it makes me smile.
But his greatest legacy is the work that hangs.
We're all very familiar with this term mobile. You know, we hang them over our baby cribs, we make them in art classes when we're in elementary school and things like that, but this term did not exist before Calder.
Michael Darling is the curator of the Seattle Art Museum's current exhibit featuring Calder's work.
This exhibition really allows us to show people the range of Calder's work from tiny little pieces that are, could fit in the palm of your hand to gigantic mobiles such as this.
Calder's sculptures span from the early 20s to his death in 1976. He's remembered as a master craftsman with a lively personality.
You can just imagine him pounding out sheet metal and riveting things and bending wire and slapping on a little quick application of paint. And I think you get that great sense of Calder using forms that look quite natural, might come from the plant world or the animal world, including this kind of swollen belly here. But then as you move around the piece, you know that you're kind of in the mechanical world.
Impressively, almost the entire collection currently on display is on loan from one private collector.
I'm very into three-dimensional things, and he was the first artist sculptor that really caught me in a big way.
Local resident John Shirley has had a long-time love affair with Calder. He fell hard for the artist as a teenager in the 1950s when he took a field trip to the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
There's always this humor and this joy that you can tell that this was a man who loved doing what he did.
Today, almost 40 original Calders hover inside the Shirleys' home or sparkle as jewelry on the neck of John's wife, Mary Shirley.
It has a fun aspect to it, and yet it's beautifully done. The balance is fantastic. The movement is wonderful.
I caught up with John Shirley in his home to discuss the many works he has collected over the years. The halls would make any museum curator jealous. John Shirley amassed his fortune while serving as the president of Microsoft in the 80s. When he retired in 1990, he became the chairman of the board for the Seattle Art Museum and continued to build one of the most impressive private art collections in the world. Fortunately, the Shirleys often share their works and donate heavily to local arts organizations.
It's really important to support the arts now at a time when the schools have cut back so much, whether it's music or whether it's drama or whether it's the visual arts.
And by loaning their private collection, Shirley hopes more people will fall in love with Calder just as he did.